I once heard my mom talking ill about my dad. She said he was the reason behind her unhappiness and that she had met some rich guy at a coffee shop.
He's doing everything.
And she'd gone to meet him. And now she was seriously considering leaving me and my dad.
She was cheating?
That was the worst part.
What is up, guys? Today we are reacting to a true story animation called I Have Been in a Coma for Years. I could hear everything. That's actually really interesting because if you're in a coma, you shouldn't be able to do anything. You shouldn't be able to hear. You shouldn't be able to, like, I don't know. All you should be able to be doing is breathing. And that's why it's actually really shocking. Like, a lot of people watch this, 15 million views. And that is because I've never heard anything like this before. It's actually crazy. This is by the My Story Animated YouTube channel. I'm gonna go ahead and subscribe, and I'm also gonna leave a like because, you know, I gotta give credit. These people who make animations, they put in so much work, and also I gotta give them credit, so I will leave their links in the description down below. If you guys want to see me react to more animations by this YouTube channel, My Story Animated, make sure you guys leave a like down below. Just leave a like, leave a comment, and just let me know. So anyways, let's go ahead and start reacting to this animation right here.
Hi there, I'm Arya. Imagine yourself
Hi, Arya.
not being able to say, I'm hungry, I'm hurting, thank
Aw.
you, I love you. Imagine yourself being imprisoned inside a body which doesn't obey your orders at all. People
That's what I'm saying. Like,
yet
if you have a
feel
coma,
alone.
like, you can't do anything
It wouldn't be
anymore.
easy, would it? Well, I lived for years feeling this way. Years of wishing for the ability to connect, to express, to share with others. Maybe
So I'm
you're
guessing
wondering what
Arya
it
is back
Well, it
from
was that
her
I
coma,
fell off
so
the tree. I was my mom and dad's
what?
only child. We were a middle-class family, and we lived in a small house with a stunning backyard. Which
Oh,
had an
wow,
old
that's
oak tree that
actually
was
a
said to be
huge
even
backyard.
older than my grandparents. When my dad first bought the house, he found a tree house in the oak tree built by the kids who had lived in the house before us. After a lot of convincing, my father agreed to fix the tree house. He even made a wooden ladder so I could climb
that's
into
so
the tree
sweet of her
easily. I
dad.
remember helping my dad decorate its walls with posters and
You know,
photos of
I've
my
always
favorite
wanted a
movies.
tree
For a
house. Like,
second,
I
you might be
watched
thinking,
so many
"What a sweet
cartoons, like
family."
Magic
But
Tree
no,
House and all
this
that.
wasn't the case exactly.
The
You see,
Simpsons.
my mom was a moody woman who yelled a lot, and nothing me or my dad did could please her. She would
Oh,
spend
that's
the whole night
so
smoking
mean.
cigarettes in front of the TV.
Oh,
and
that is
sleeping.
so bad.
As for my dad, he spent his time working so he could pay the bills and buy
I feel
us
so
food.
bad for
And
the
me,
dad,
well,
man.
after I got home from school, there was nothing for me to do but go and play with my dolls in the treehouse. For my 13th birthday, my dad bought me the best gift ever. He bought me a little white
Oh,
puppy.
that's so cute. Her dad is the
Perhaps
best.
a dog would keep me company so I wouldn't be so alone. I loved Snowball, and I taught him lots of tricks. We used to spend all day together in the treehouse. We would only go home to eat dinner. That way, we steered clear of my mom's yelling and long fights with my dad.
Her mom
I
is.
watched the sky a lot during my days in the treehouse. Back then, my dad only came home after the sun had set, so I'd watch the stars lighting up the sky. They looked amazing. I knew that those stars were nothing but meteors traveling fast through the sky as they burned, but everything my dad told me about them made them
Stars
seem
look
magical.
beautiful. Whatever,
One time,
like,
I was watching the sky with Snowball.
whatever they
waiting for my
say,
dad
stars
to
look
come
beautiful.
home. When he arrived, he climbed up and sat beside me. He
Aw,
said,
that's
"This
so
falling
sweet.
star is a wish that just came true for someone out there in the world."
He's the
A
type of
wish,
parent
said?
I
He
strive to be.
explained, a long, long time ago, there was a poor man praying to the gods every day. However, the gods were always busy, so they didn't answer him. One day, he screamed so loudly the mountains shook. The gods looked at him and listened to his troubles. They became so sad and cried burning stars. So this way, whenever he saw a falling star in the sky, he'd make a wish and the gods would make them come true.
I mean, that's a
"Can
pretty
this be
cute story.
possible?" I asked. And he replied, "Legends are a beautiful thing to hear, but not to believe. If the legends are so old, how can we know if they are true or not?" I asked. He just smiled at me and said it was time to head back into the house. On that same night, while I was lying in bed hugging Snowball, it started to feel like my life was falling apart. My mom was screaming hysterically at my dad, telling him that the money he was bringing in was no longer enough. And
Okay, well, you go to work as well then. Don't make him do all the work and try to, you know. This kind of makes me angry, dude.
She could no longer go out with her friends because she was so embarrassed. She couldn't afford to buy new dresses every time.
You're not
they
even
went out
working
with
for
her
your
friends.
own money.
I saw Snowball looking at me as if he wanted to say, "What a silly woman." The fighting and loud screaming continued for a long time until I could no longer bear it. I snuck out of the window and headed towards the dark oak tree in the backyard. Everything around me was dark. Behind me,
So this is
walked
basically
Snowball.
her
We crept
mom's
very
fault.
quietly so no one would hear us, and then we arrived at the treehouse. It was pitch black, so I missed a step on the ladder, and then my leg slipped. The last thing I remembered from that day was that after I fell hard on the ground, everything around me turned fuzzy. Snowball sounded far away, even though I could see him jumping around me. Then I wasn't able to feel
Oh my
anything.
gosh, she looks like
After
she's
a little while, I
dead.
felt myself waking up. My head hurt, and I couldn't feel any part of my body.
Oh, she's in a
completely
coma.
lost
She's in a
control over
coma.
my body parts. Even my eyes, I couldn't open them.
Oh
I could
my
feel
gosh.
the light around me,
Like
but
if
it
you're in a
was
coma,
difficult
you
to
know
open
you're
my
alive, but
eyes.
like you can't do
My,
anything.
what happened to me? Was I stuck in my sleep? Or was it worse than that? Had I died? I didn't know much about death, except that after death, a person drowns in darkness. But this darkness I felt was different. Completely different. I could feel my body freezing. Suddenly I heard someone. If I was able to hear him, that means I wasn't dead. Thank God. From his tone of voice, I gathered he was a doctor speaking to my parents. He said, "The damage she suffered to her head due to the fall has
Okay, this is
resulted
where it
in
begins.
severe internal bleeding in her brain, which is preventing enough oxygen from reaching her body, resulting in a coma." But I wasn't in a coma. I was there with them. I heard my dad crying and my mom inquiring about the treatment fees. I wanted to
What?
scream,
Come
to call out
on,
for them.
dude. Her mom only cares about the money. And her dad was crying for her.
To say something, anything. But I wasn't able to even talk at that time.
Like this video if you guys agree that the mom isn't really a good parent. I can't judge, but like from the way she's telling the story
Suddenly, I
though.
was just a vegetable, unable to do anything but listen. Most people don't think twice before talking or connecting with others. They do it automatically. But I had absolutely no way of speaking to anyone. For the last 13 years, I had been a normal girl. A girl who loved her dad, her dog, and who loved to play. I was
She didn't love her mom.
Now, suddenly, that had all changed. The doctors didn't know what to do. They thought I was completely in a coma, but they always treated me nicely. All the time I spent
that's
in the
so sweet of
hospital,
them.
I only heard my dad's voice. My mom had completely vanished.
Yep.
I didn't know where she
She just
was, and
left.
I didn't hear anything
That's messed
related
up.
to her. Until the day the doctor said there is nothing more they can do and that it is best for me to return to my parents' home. I heard my mom arguing with my dad. She didn't want me back home. I was, according to her, a burden that she didn't want to carry.
What?
But I went home anyway.
Why'd
I
she
was
have a
happy
daughter in
because
the
I was
first place
returning
then, or
home. I heard
a
my
kid?
dad telling my mom that he finished the treehouse because that was the last thing I asked him to do. That's why he insisted on bringing me back home, so I could be near the things I loved. However, things went downhill from there. I lost my ability to move. I failed all the mind exams they conducted on me in the hospital. So the doctors told my parents they could treat me as if I didn't exist. My return home was just a hopeless attempt at keeping my unconscious body comfortable until I died.
I really
My dad
wait.
tried his hardest to keep me
I bet she
comfortable,
woke up,
and
right?
that
Because she's
really
telling
ruined
the
my
story
mood.
now.
Their friends stopped visiting after a while, and the money Dad was providing was no longer
Oh
enough.
no.
Machines that were keeping me alive were too expensive. Before, I was able to escape my mom's
Please don't
screaming
give up
and
on her.
raging, but today, I was stuck with it without them even knowing that I could hear them. The whole thing felt like a nightmare. When my dad first got me Snowball, I thought that he was very smart and could just understand me without even having to talk to him. But my dad used to laugh and say, "Dogs are about as smart as a 3-year-old. They can feel."
No,
when you're
I
sad,
bet you
scared,
right now
they
that the
can't
dog
read
is gonna
minds.
be able to
Deep down,
communicate
though,
with
I
her
knew
somehow.
Snowball was no ordinary dog. He was special enough to be able to read my thoughts because
Oh,
we
here
had
we
this
go, here we
insane
go.
bond. Every time my parents started their screaming matches, I'd hear Snowball sitting beside me and barking in a low
Aww.
voice, as if to tell me that everything would be all right. I was sure that Snowball knew I was
Dude,
a
dogs are
prisoner in
so
my
special,
body,
man.
unlike
I
what
really wish I
everyone
had a
else
pet.
believed. He never left my side. His breathing was my only comfort. For a while, I used to be entertained by my father when he entered my room at night and started moving my body left and right to help my blood circulate. Once he was done, he'd sit beside me and talk with me for an hour or so about his day, like he used to
She's
before,
listening,
but
man.
that
She's
didn't last for
listening.
long. The last talk he had with me was about how tired he was, both physically and mentally. That he was very upset he'd lost his little girl, the only person in the whole world who used to listen to him. That day, I heard him sobbing so loudly. Then he suddenly said, "I can no longer bear to look at you like this anymore." After that, he stopped talking to me altogether. A year
What?
quickly turned into 2, and I felt the
No.
person I used to be disappearing. Not just her body, but also her memories. My mom said that she'd had enough with my stuff taking
So she's
up
like
so much
15
room,
now
and that she
because
could
of
put
that.
the space to good use. My dad wasn't able to refuse, so he just said that he'd move my things to the treehouse. It wasn't long until I was moved out of my room to another one that was more practical and way smaller. It had
Oh,
barely enough
no.
room for my bed, machines, and for one person to be able to move around in. That was enough for me, according to my mom. What was worse
Dude,
was
her
that this
mom is a
little room was
terrible
next to the
person.
living
I don't
room.
care what
That
you
meant
guys
that I
say
could hear
anymore.
everything. I mean, literally down to the tiniest details. 2 years turned to 3, and I was still in
No,
the same
now
place
she's
with no one aware of my
16 years
existence.
old.
It was like I was
Without
a
being-
ghost. Whenever my mom's friends came to visit, they used to ignore me, as if I was just part of
What?
the furniture. I was dead to everyone, just not in the ground.
That is
Only
so
Snowball
sad.
remained at my side. My mom and her friends' conversations were ridiculous. They gossiped a lot and couldn't stop judging their relatives. Sometimes they talked about clothes, travel, and their husbands. I once heard my mom talking ill about my dad. She said he was the reason behind her unhappiness, and that she had met some
Dude,
rich guy at a coffee shop. That
he's
guy had
doing
invited her for a drink,
everything.
and she'd gone to meet him. And now she was seriously considering leaving me and my dad.
She
For
was
me,
cheating?
That was the worst part about
Oh
those
my
3 years.
gosh.
Feeling totally powerless and not being able to stand
Yeah,
up to her,
she's
and not being
angry,
able to
guys.
scream, "You're an ungrateful woman. All
She
the
really
things
is.
Dad did for you, and yet it's never enough. Now you want to leave him because some other guy has more money?" My poor
It's always
dad
about
didn't
money
deserve
for
my
her.
mom, or even me. I found myself in utter darkness, and the darkness was swallowing my dad up whole. I
Oh,
couldn't
no.
remember much about my life before the fall. I was so terrified I'd forget everything. I remembered having a friend called Maisie, but I couldn't remember what we used to do or how we would spend time together. I remember loving science, but I no longer remembered any of the stuff that we'd learned at school. At the same time, my mind clung onto
Dude,
the
how
memories,
long
and at
is
the
she
same
gonna be in a
time,
coma
started
for? I
creating
just
new ones
wonder.
that hadn't existed before. I had to find a way to stay here, in this world, even if I had to create my own world inside my head. Maisie became my best friend. She always
Oh.
visited on Sundays.
Wait. To be continued, watch part 2. Wait, there's a part 2? Alright guys, before we get into part 2, I really hope she wakes up in this one. So let's just go ahead and leave a like, and let's get started with part 2. Please wake up, Arya.
It was
Previously.
pitch black, so I missed a step on the ladder, and then my leg slipped. The damage she suffered to her head due to the fall has resulted in severe internal bleeding in her brain, resulting in a coma. But I wasn't in a
Okay,
coma.
so
That
far
meant that
she's
I could
been in
hear
a coma for
everything.
3
A year
years.
quickly did on
So this is
Sundays.
where it
Every
stopped
time
last
she
time.
came, she talked about her classmates, how Sophie had fallen in love with Joe, and how Kit had failed the math test, so the teacher had punished him by making him solve 10 equations
The
in front of the whole
typical
class.
high school
Maisie's
drama.
visits, though they were only in my head, were the best parts of my day. I
Ah.
didn't know that what I was doing in order to entertain myself was actually a kind of exercise for my damaged mind. I didn't
That's
realize
good,
that
that's
I was
good.
helping myself get better. If I'd known, I wouldn't have waited 3 years to start doing it. My consciousness was slowly
At least she's being
returning.
like
You might
creative.
wonder,
She's like
how
coming
did
up
I
with her own
realize that?
stories.
Well, simply, I felt my eyelids flutter whenever Maisie visited me. Believe it or not, our thoughts have incredible power. But even so, no one knew that I was coming out of a coma.
Oh, no,
Ever
please
since
wake
I'd first
up.
been diagnosed as being in a coma, I was totally aware of everything happening around me. Exactly like a normal person.
That must
but I
suck
was
when
stuck
you-
inside a silent body, it seemed.
Yeah, that must suck. Like being stuck in a body, in your own body for like the next 3 years while you can't even move. All you can do is like listen. That is
A mind
torture,
full of
guys. That
life
is
that
torture.
no one noticed. I started accepting this cruel fate and got lost in my made-up thoughts. Suddenly, I could no longer tell the difference between what was
No.
real and what wasn't. There's a fine line that separates memory from imagination, and I clearly overstepped it. But the one thing I was absolutely certain of was that the fights my parents had and my mom's betrayal were 100% real. After 4 years, my mom had had enough of me. How long must I endure moving this body left and right without any response?
She
would
did
yell
not
in my
care
dad's
about her
face,
own daughter.
And he would answer, "Until she dies." Imagine being in my position. Not being able to speak to a friend, not feeling loved anymore, not having any ambitions or dreams, no hope of being able to look forward to anything. All my thoughts were miserable ones. I lived in fear, and if I was being honest, I was waiting for death so I could escape from all of this. I pictured myself dying in some nursing home, cold and alone. And so that's how I spent those 4 long years. Snowball's existence
That's
was my
actually so
only
sad,
comfort.
man.
My eyelids started fluttering a lot. You might think that's not really a big deal. Anyone can do that without trying, but that wasn't the case with me. Snowball noticed what was going on and started to bark for hours and hours without stopping.
Aw, this
My
is
mom
such a
couldn't
cute dog,
tolerate it.
man.
My dad came home and Snowball continued to bark. Everyone went to bed and Snowball was still barking. He was just like me, wishing for someone to realize that I was still with them. But what happened was the opposite of what we hoped for. The next day, his barking stopped completely. I didn't know what had happened to him.
Please
Mom must
wake
have
up,
gotten rid of him.
please.
I was really
Wake up,
worried about
please.
him. Snowball was my only friend, the only one that made me feel that I wasn't actually dead. He disappeared. That
Oh,
day, I heard
no.
some heated discussion between my parents. You might say that nothing was new, but this time it was different. My mom decided to leave my dad. She accused him
God.
of having never been the perfect husband. She was
What?
crazy.
He
She was
did
the
everything.
coolest dad a girl could ever wish for. He tried to persuade her to stay, but it was pointless. She screamed at the top of her voice. It would have been better if she died that day. It's like a curse that won't go
What?
away unless I leave.
Oh
The
my.
sound of the door slamming was the last thing I heard that day.
That makes
I
me
was
so
incapable
angry.
of
What the
changing
heck?
any of the
What
things
kind of
around
mom
me,
says
or
that
even the way my
about their
mom
own
and dad
kid?
looked at me. I was an invisible, silent watcher to how people acted when they thought no one was looking. Unfortunately, I wasn't just a watcher. Because of my inability to communicate with people, I became the perfect victim. A creature that looked like it was devoid of emotions. For 4 years, my mom used to abuse me mentally and physically.
That is
What did I ever
just-
do to her to deserve that? A part of me wanted to cry, and the other part wanted to fight. I was so full of pain and sadness. It was torture. The following day, it was like I no longer existed inside the house. My dad was really depressed. He
Oh,
moved me to a nursing
man.
home, exactly like I'd expected would happen. I felt worthless now without Snowball, and without people around me. I became even more of a shell.
Dude, I
of my
really
former
hope she
self.
wakes up soon.
Another year went
Please
by,
tell
and
me.
everyone still thought I was in a deep coma. In the nursing house, everything was so quiet. No voices, no movements, and no talking. Just a stranger who moved
Uh-oh.
me left and right every day.
Oh,
and
that
made
kinda
sure
scared
my
me for a
machines were
second.
working normally.
Please
The
wake
6-year
up,
mark
Arya.
Came and went.
6
and then
years?
the 7th,
She's
and
19.
Everything was the same. I used to figure
She's
out that the
18
time
now.
from
What the
nurses
heck?
changing
No, wait.
shifts every
7
6
years?
hours.
20 years
That meant
old
that
now.
on the 4th time I was moved, a day would have passed. No one visited me during the 3 years that I spent there, except my friend Maisie. No one cared about me but
Aw, her
I lived
imaginary
in
friend.
terror. I knew every day would be exactly the same as the last one, over and over again. I totally lost any hope I had of hearing another person's voice. But then one night, my dad decided to visit me. I had no idea
Please
what
wake
date
up.
it was
Please
because
wake
I'd
up.
lost all sense of time. But it happened to be my 20th birthday. He held my
Oh,
hand, and I
no.
couldn't believe it when I heard his voice. It felt like a
Happy
dream. He told
birthday
me, "You won't be
to
alone
you."
anymore. I'll be with you forever from now on. I can't believe you just turned 20.
Oh.
Emotions welled up in me, and suddenly I could feel the familiar fluttering of my eyelids.
Please
I
wake
had
up.
to
Wake
open my
up.
eyes.
Come
I
on, come
couldn't
on.
stay like this
You got
anymore.
this.
My dad had
Let's
his face
go.
buried in my shoulder, and he was crying. He couldn't see my face or my eyes, but when he turned his head, he jumped and ran outside screaming at the top of his voice. Doctor! I need a doctor! Perhaps emotions have more power than we realize.
makes me
My
so
dad's love for me
happy.
made me open my eyes once again.
Dude, screw
the
her
doctors
mom,
ran some
dude.
tests on me, and none of them could explain what had happened. They only said the damage that her head suffered was apparently able to heal with time. Your daughter is out of her coma. To make sure I was able to hear them, the doctor asked me to blink twice, and I did it. Being able to communicate
That's so
again,
funny.
even in a
She should have
simple
told
way,
them that
felt
she
like
could
the
have heard
best thing in
everything.
the world. But even more than that was the fact that I was no longer a nobody. Dad was so
Oh,
excited.
man,
he didn't
that
even
is
know
so
where to
awesome.
begin. But my movement and reactions were still limited. It would take
Yeah,
time.
you gotta,
There
after
were
7 years,
seriously
you gotta
times
start
where I
moving your
almost
joints
gave up.
again.
But I had to hold on to this.
Mhm.
My dad promised
You gotta
never
stay
to
strong.
leave me alone, and he kept his word. At night, my dad moved my bed towards the window. It was the first time I'd seen the sky for the
This
last
is
7
so,
years.
so
At
beautiful,
that
guys.
moment,
The
a star fell
stars.
from the sky. I closed my eyes and wished to be able to speak again. I mean,
Oh, she couldn't
there
talk
must have been
again?
a reason for the star to fall at that moment, right? It couldn't have been a coincidence. That night, my dad told me about that dark day. He told me how Snowball ran home barking nonstop. My mom tried to shut him up and to kick him out, but he refused. He bit my dad's pants and kept pushing until my dad came with him outside. From afar, he saw me motionless on the ground. He panicked and drove me to the
man, the
hospital in
dog
a
does
hurry.
more
There, they told
for
me
her
that there was no hope,
than her
but
own
my
mom.
dad wouldn't give up. He knew there would come a day where
Exactly.
I'd be okay again. He must
7
have
years
gotten sick of
later.
waiting for that day. It's true that I was happy for recovering gradually, but even then, I didn't feel completely free. People around me were still controlling everything. When and what I
But hey,
ate, if
at
I
least
could
you're
stay in
alive
bed,
now. At
or if I
least, you
should
know,
be
you're
sitting in a
conscious
chair.
again. You
It
can
didn't
see
matter how
things
many
again.
times I blinked, I couldn't say anything except for yes and no. One day, my dad came in all happy. He told me that the doctors had finally agreed to let him take me on a wheelchair around the city. It was the first time in
Nice.
so long that I get to move and finally leave my bed. I was scared. The outside world must have changed a lot. I
Dude,
didn't know if I should
7
go,
years
but
later.
I needed this. It was time
Yeah.
to get back out there.
I love how
remember
strong
one
she
moment
is.
from
Like
that
how
day very
how
vividly. My
strong-willed
dad left
she
me
is.
alone
She's
in the
awesome.
car on our way back in order to buy something quickly from the store. A woman passed by, looked at me, and smiled. I didn't know the reason behind her smile back then, and I'll never know. But that small smile, a small human interaction, made me
Positivity.
feel better again. That woman's smile is what pushed me to continue. Seeing my dad come into my room was always the best moment of my day. However, I wasn't pleased when my dad entered my room with the press who came to listen to my story.
Oh
Apparently,
my.
they decided that my story was worth being told and shared. The press ruined my peace and quiet. My mom even returned just so
Oh.
she could be in the spotlight. She
Wow.
returned after disappearing for so long.
She should just
for
leave,
fame.
dude.
The
Yeah,
press
see?
did help a bit though.
That's what
My
you call a
dad
gold
had them
digger,
help us
man.
look for solutions and treatments that might help me get better. My mom, though, well, she didn't exactly show up because she suddenly remembered the importance of family.
Oh
She
no.
was just
She wanted
there
that
for fame,
fame.
and
She
Dad
wanted that
me
money.
to decide if she could stay or not. Mom's answer was, "My dear daughter, do you want your mommy back in your life?"
No. She
I
heard
blinked
everything.
nonstop,
She heard
and this meant I
everything.
wanted her to go.
Yeah.
Because I knew
Leave.
she didn't care
Exactly.
if I lived or died.
Leave.
My dad was a person who'd taken care of me my whole life.
She knows.
Of course, he had weak moments where he wasn't by my side, but at least he still loved me enough and thought of me all
Exactly.
the time.
Exactly.
And for me, that was enough. And guess what? My dad got in contact with one of the big companies that made medical devices.
Now he's
They had
gonna be
created a
rich.
device that gets implanted inside the brain and is connected to a special computer. The device sends electric waves to the computer that then says the words out loud. That company
Oh,
heard
that
about
is
my condition in
sweet.
the media and were happy to help me. The first time they tried this on me was pretty funny. Everything I said made everyone laugh, but for me it was sad because I never got an answer to my question. What I asked was, what happened to my dog Snowball? My story might be sad. Some of you might believe it.
Oh,
and
what
others will
did
say that
happen
it
to
is
her
just
dog?
a product of my imagination. But what can't be denied is that there are a lot of people like me in this world who no one knows anything about
Dude,
because
that
they
is-
don't have the ability to connect with people. It wouldn't hurt to act nicely towards them and not to ignore them because, like me, they have feelings too.
Yeah.
My suffering lasted for 7 years, but I truly believe that the star that fell that night was the reason my wish of being able to talk again came true.
Oh,
Everything happens
dude,
for
so it
a
is her talking. I
Do you
hope.
like my story? Don't forget to tell me what.
I loved your story. I loved
Oh.
her story, guys. Like her story kind of opened up my eyes and like made me be more grateful about my life because hey, I'm 23 years old and 7 years of her life. She's 20 years old and 7 years of her life was spent sleeping in a bed in a coma. And I just know how blessed I am to be able to, you know, be able to speak, be able to see everything. I've had instances where like I've fallen on my head and like, you know, I'm really glad and grateful to be where I'm at today. So yeah, I started tearing up at that point when she was talking about, you know, how she felt like a worthless human being and like, you know, how she basically felt like she was a goner already. No one should ever feel that way. So anyways, I really hope you guys enjoy this video. There's more to this video than it meets the eye. There's a lot of deep meaning to this. Take it how you want it, but If you guys want to see more videos like this in the future, leave a like, leave a comment. But other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.